One of the most humbling aspects of having children and getting older is explaining to them things in the past that seemed completely normal at the time, but now when we look back, we recognize we're absolutely insane. Case in point, someday I will explain to my children that when I was little, every once in a while our family would go out for dinner rather than eating at home in our dining room. And after we ate and we got back home, right when we got back home, the very first thing we would do, David Gutman, are you listening? The very first thing that we would do was change clothes and put our other clothes right in the washing machine. Why? Because people smoked in restaurants. There was a smoking section and a non-smoking section, but for most restaurants it didn't matter. Regardless of where you sat, you would come home smelling like cigarettes. And they'll look at me like David is looking at me now. And they'll say, "What's a cigarette?" Or maybe they'll say, "Why would you do that?" And I'll say, and I'm saying to you right now, David, I don't know. I'm not really sure. But wait till you find out about smoking on airplanes, which was also something we thought was okay once upon a time. There are moments that feel normal at the time, but then we look back on them later in life and we recognize just how crazy our society was. While there are so many headlines going on in our world right now, and especially if you're reading local, national news, international news, and the news in Israel, and all of them are significant, and they deserve our attention. There was one headline this past week that you might have missed, but it was incredibly consequential. And I truly think that it will be the beginning to important change in our country and around the world. This past week, a Los Angeles jury found YouTube and Meta, the company that owns Facebook and Instagram, responsible and liable for creating and enabling mental health challenges in young people, particularly young women, and for knowingly pushing a product that is addictive and harmful. Now that might seem obvious, and it also might seem trivial because the damages that these companies are responsible to pay out are equivalent to a drop of water in a swimming pool. I think it's something like $6 million between the two of them. But what's important here is not the slap on the wrist. It's the waking up of our society and our legal system to the craziness that we call normal. This world of ours is not normal. It's not. The level of fear and anxiety and depression, the deep insecurity and feelings of inadequacy, the harassment and the hate, my God, the hate. This is not normal. And one day, we are all going to look back at this time, and it's going to seem like smoking on airplanes. We're going to wonder what the hell we were thinking. Why did we do this to ourselves? Why did we think this was okay? Because the fear economy, the anxiety economy, is killing us. And I mean that quite literally. Suicide rates, especially among young people, are through the roof. Health issues, not just mental health issues, but health issues in general, are showing up in earlier ages. And acts of terrorism, mass shootings, hate crimes, have all gone up, influenced in no small part to the deluge of conspiracy theories, misinformation, radicalization, and tribal othering that has become ubiquitous online. We are destroying ourselves. And we are too addicted to understand just how bad it is. Okay. Now that I've done the fire and brimstone, let's take a breath, because I think the last thing we need is more anxiety. That's like the app that Rabbi Starr was coming out with last week. We don't need it. It's enough anxiety. So while I do believe that our country and a lot of other nations are beginning to make some meaningful decisions, the most important change has to come from us individually and communally. And I don't think there's any better time to start implementing real, healthy change in our lives than right now. Just 4 days away from our holiday of freedom, of liberation, the holiday of breaking the chains of addiction and subjugation. There is something just magical about Pesach. I mean, I think that our tradition knocked it out of the park with all of our holidays, but there is something different about Pesach. And I think what that magical piece is the masterful weaving together of human agency and nature. On one hand, Passover in the Torah and in rabbinic literature is also referred to as Chag HaAviv, the holiday of spring. It is about freedom not just from Egypt, but also freedom from the darkness and the cold of winter, a re-emergence into the world of God's creation and a celebration of its beauty. It's why we have karpas on the Seder plate. It's why we implement into our Passover Seder the counting of the Omer on the second night. Because this is a holiday not just of our freedom, but also the freedom of our plants, our flowers, our crops, and our trees from the bonds of winter. Simultaneously, Pesach is an exodus of human agency. Yes, Hashem creates the liberation with a strong hand and an outstretched arm, bringing miracles that open the gate of redemption. But there is also this one moment in the Pesach story that changes everything. The Exodus begins only when that first forward step is taken. In our narrative, that moment comes when the Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds, is split before the Israelites. Pharaoh's army is in pursuit, and the uncertainty of future lies ahead. And one individual, and this is significant, notably not Moshe, not Aharon, not Miriam, but a man named Nachshon ben Aminadav, an everyman, you, me, puts one foot in front of the other and leads the way across that split sea with courage and with hope. He's got to be scared out of his mind. But that is Exodus. The willingness to believe and to affirm that belief through action. What we do each and every year is we gather together with family and friends, and we live that story. We live that story to make a statement of our own that we too are ready to leave Egypt and that we will not be restrained by anxiety or fear. Our action to make that commitment is through the Shakta Vitaria, the back and forth that comes in our Pesach Seder, the wrestling with the text, that asking of questions, turning our story over and over in our minds and in our hearts so that it inspires within us the awareness not of who we are, but of who we are meant to be. Together, those two liberations, the liberation of spring and the liberation of the Jewish people, peel away the shtuyot of this world and expose life for what it truly is. Not an algorithm of likes and shares, of targeted advertisements and dopamine hits, of hateful comments and manufactured divisiveness. but rather as a harmony of divine creation. Humans and nature divorced from all the fake garbage, emerging from the darkness of winter and the darkness of human despair to create, to build, to change, and to hope. Now notice that this idea is not about positive thinking or optimism. Hope is something different. As Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks said, optimism and hope are not the same. Optimism is the belief that the world is changing for the better. Hope is the belief that together we can make the world better. Optimism is a passive virtue. Hope, an active one. It needs no courage to be an optimist, but it takes a great deal of courage to hope. The Hebrew Bible is not an optimistic book. It is, however, one of the great literatures of hope. Hope is this incredible gift that we Jews give to this world. It doesn't mean we don't get caught up in all of the craziness. We certainly do. But the invitation to live our Exodus allows us to see the things that are broken. Broken in our world, broken in our families and in our homes, broken in our own hearts, and to get to work healing and mending. This world that we live in right now is not normal, and we cannot see it as normal. Our phones, our tablets, our screens, our mental health is smoking like a chimney in restaurants and on planes. But we are standing with a sea split before us, an invitation to rethink how we engage with the virtual world, and the wisdom to know when to turn it off, to step outside and breathe in the liberation of creation, to be in community, physically and authentically in community, and to embrace the incredible gift of hope. Shabbat Shalom. Chag Sameach, everyone.